thanks for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it. My name is Jason. I'm one of the librarians here at the library. And tonight we have a very special show. Are you curious
Yes.
about the mysteries of the mind? Interested in learning how the mind can deceive us?
Oh, yes.
And what we need to be aware to make sure that doesn't happen?
Oh,
Well, then you're in luck. Because today we are pleased to have John Machniak.
Machniak.
There we go.
Close enough.
He's back with us. John's been with us before. He has given well-received presentations on the psychology of Halloween, as well as being a guest magician at various puppet shows. He's known for his informative, entertaining style, and audiences appreciate his wit, his humor, and intelligence. We're pleased to welcome him back for an exploration of how our minds work and how they can deceive us, with an accent on the paranormal. He'll also demonstrate some examples of the power of suggestion, as well as some psychic illusions that will baffle and amaze you. So audience participation time is expected. So please give a warm welcome to John Machniak.
Thank you. I hope I can live up to that fine introduction. Thank you. I'm going to start by asking everybody here. Can everybody see this? Are all good? Anybody want to guess what number goes in the spot? The vacant spot? No takers? Go ahead. You're the math major. Go for it.
no, I can't see the pattern.
Well, how about if I do it this way? What number goes there now? See, and that's one of the mysteries of the mind. We're going to talk about how our minds work, how we look at things in one way, and sometimes it's not always the truth, but also, most importantly, what we need to do to make sure that we don't make a lot of cognitive errors in our thinking and learn to think about why we believe what we believe. Okay? Jason told you a little bit about me, so I'm going to explain a little bit about what I'll be talking about. We'll be discussing some beliefs that are prevalent in our culture and looking at them from a critical perspective. And I think a great illustration to do this is paranormal. Jason mentioned that I did a lecture on the psychology of Halloween. And boy, did I find out a lot of stuff about Halloween I didn't know. That's not something I'll be talking about but I will be talking about the paranormal, because beliefs in the paranormal are very common in our culture. So what's the prevalence of such beliefs? What does the research show? Who's more likely to believe in the paranormal? Who's less likely to believe? Who believes? Why do they believe in it? So we'll be talking about that and thinking, and also address how we think not only about the paranormal, but also in our everyday lives. I'll be doing some demonstrations of the power of suggestion. It's audience participation part. I'll be asking some folks as well to help me out with that. And I'll also have some really cool handouts that I think you'll enjoy that you can take with you. So a brief biography about me. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have an avid interest in unusual things. I've been a magician since I was 7 years old. My interest in magic, along with my interest in things like the paranormal, combined with my academic background, helped me, I think, to take a critical look at what we believe and why. In 2013, I went back to school at Spring Arbor University to study to become a counselor. I'm a self-confessed academic nerd, and I have the knack of being able to take very complex ideas and break them down into understandable pieces. So even though I'm an academic nerd, I despise things that are boring. So rest assured, this presentation will not be boring. I guarantee it. And just so everyone here understands, everybody has different beliefs. So our conversation today is not intended to change anyone's mind or perspective on anything, to criticize anyone's beliefs, but merely to provide a critical look at thinking about what we believe and why we believe it. So does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Paranormal. Well, what is the paranormal? Everybody has a different definition of it, but the paranormal is really those beliefs which violate limiting principles of science and are incompatible with our beliefs and our expectations about reality. And we're going to talk about some of that in a moment. Approximately prevalence of beliefs. Approximately 65% of the population is likely to believe in psychic phenomena. Research found rates of over 40% belief for haunted houses and over 30% for clairvoyance, telepathy, and visitation by space aliens. And because the paranormal has been around obviously forever, there's been a lot of research about it. So some of the research on the paranormal goes back to spiritualism when it was in its heyday in the 1800s, and the public started seeking the opinions of psychologists. William James, who's considered the father of modern psychology, was the first president of the American Society for Psychical Research. Sigmund Freud, interestingly enough, ruled out God, but not telepathy, which he expressed a private conviction in. So he was interested in the paranormal unless it included God. Carl Jung, one of Freud's students that I'm sure you are all familiar with, gave us the concept of synchronicity. And he wrote about mediums and seances, which he attended. He wrote about spirits, haunting, astrology, the I Ching, life after death, visions, religious miracles, and parapsychology. He wrote an MD dissertation titled On the Psychology and Pathology of So-Called Occult Phenomena. So he took a very, very different view of what the paranormal is.
You said synchronization? What is that?
Synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence. So the word synchronicity was coined by Carl Jung. So when we say, oh, that was a synchronicity, it's a meaningful coincidence that you wouldn't
Great
expect.
album by the Police. It said in a great album by the Police.
Okay, yes. That's for those of you who understand. Let me break that down. If you're younger, Sting and the Police was a huge, huge group. For anyone who's watching this on video, they were a huge group in the 80s, an incredible group. Thank you for that. In fact, every time I look at synchronicity and hear the word, I think of them singing synchronicity.
Absolutely.
Well, and there's current research on something that is paranormal. For example, some of you have probably heard of a book by a doctor named Eben Alexander. He's a neurosurgeon, and he wrote Proof of Heaven, a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife, in which he says he visited heaven in a near-death experience. And this is an area of considerable research. Interest in near-death experiences has grown substantially since the 80s. Now, it's also a great example, we're talking about critical thinking and the paranormal largely. It's a great example of being vigilant about scrutinizing reports of experiences that people claim. For example, there was another book I'm sure many of you have heard of called The Boy Who Came Back from Heaven. And it was taken out of print by Tyndale House nearly 5 years after it hit the bestseller list. The reason it was taken out is because it's the purported story of a 6-year-old boy's story of visiting angels and heaven after being injured in a bad car crash. For those of you who know, Tyndale House is a very well-known and respected religious publisher. The boy's name was Alex Malarkey, and I love his name because Malarkey. The boy Alex Malarkey said, "I did not die. I did not go to heaven. I said I went to heaven because I thought it would get me attention." So this is a great example of watching, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, and how our beliefs can be biased. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be neutral. This is a great example because there are people who literally may change their whole life philosophy based on something that's a fraud. Okay? So if you're going to look for it, we're going to talk about this as well. If you're going to look for good research, I think Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon, at least there's going to be some credibility. We're going to talk about why that's so important. I'm going to get some water here. Now, magicians have also investigated the paranormal. They're some of the biggest skeptics. As a magician, I can guarantee you they are some of the skeptics, and there's one or two here. Houdini investigated mediums after his mother died. What happened is he was very close to his mother, and I know you all know who Houdini is. And he got really ticked off because he realized that a lot of them were clever magicians, and he started to expose them. And he wrote a book called The Magician Among the Spirits in 1924. Other books were written by magicians exposing fraud in fortune-telling, psychic phenomenon, spiritualism, and so forth. James Randi, who I know a lot of you know, was one of the most famous contemporary magicians exposing psychic fraud. Those of you who this audience physically here is a little bit older, so you will appreciate and remember people like Uri Geller, who claimed to bend spoons and so on and so forth. There's a whole generation who really doesn't know who that is, but look them up, Google is your friend. And he was one of the first magicians really criticizing it. He also did a major investigation on evangelists who were not sincere believers, but they were faking stuff. And I won't name them. It was huge, and it was really, I've read his book. He's written books on healing, and it's really disgusting to see what people will do, but they are doing it fraudulently. They are not doing it in a sincere way. So this is why it's so important to be critical about what we see. So he was one of the most famous, and Marcello Truzzi, who was a professor of sociology at Eastern Michigan University, was the founding co-chair of the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, and that still exists today. So, when we're talking about beliefs, we need to know who believes what and why. Well, who's more likely to believe in the paranormal? Well, people who have a slightly greater belief are those who are divorced people, younger people who are more geographically mobile, women, people who feel lonely because they lack a social network, and individuals who believe in complementary and alternative medicine. I saw somebody in the audience who has a book on healing. Acupuncture, because we're filming this in a library, acupuncture, herbal remedies, energy medicine, reflexology, massage, yoga, tai chi. Those are all examples of different alternative views of looking at things, and people who believe in those things tend to be more open to the paranormal. Individuals who are more likely to believe in the paranormal also include those who use paranormal beliefs as a coping mechanism. Sometimes people get involved in something in their life that's happening, they turn to something paranormal, they feel it helps them, so they continue. Individuals who report a history of physical abuse are more likely to believe in the paranormal. And individuals who report being traumatized as children are more likely to use paranormal beliefs as coping strategies. I'm thinking, as an academic nerd, that's because when you can't control what's going on around you, you move inward. And that's not the only one. I won't get into it, it's outside the scope, but there's dissociation, there's a million things that traumatized people will do. So why are people more likely to believe in the paranormal? Well, it gives an increased sense of meaning and purpose, feeling interconnected, feeling part of a social group or organization. People are more likely to accept claims if they believe the claims have popular support. People might accept beliefs endorsed by higher status, in quotes, others. Celebrities, etc., like Madonna. Madonna popularized, and this is a while back, but Kabbalah and a million other things. So there's a lot of celebrities, the minute they get into it, they'll get into fasting, they'll get into a lot of things that are quasi legitimate, so to speak. And obviously, if you have followers and devotees, they will follow it. People who have friends and family who hold similar beliefs. For example, there are people who grow up in a New Age family where tarot cards are used and incense and crystals. And so there's a generational belief. So when they're outside of their family, I mean, they feel kind of, these other people must be strange because they grew up with it. And it's very similar to anyone who grows up in any rigid belief system in the family. You always kind of think of the outsider, or they're called the other. Put that in air quotes, the other. And frequently they turn into the enemy. Why people are less likely to believe in the paranormal? Interestingly enough, people who have above average church attendance weekly, especially if they have stronger conventional Christian beliefs, are much less likely to believe in the paranormal. Very wealthy and highly educated individuals, and individuals who are more willing to engage in analytical reasoning. Now, it's interesting, I could never find research that talked about religious beliefs more, other than Christian beliefs and the link to the paranormal, but I'm going to guess Muslim, Jewish, etc. If you have a strong conservative bent, you're going to reject anything that's paranormal. But I do find it interesting that I've only been able to come across Christian references to beliefs. So who believes in what and why? Well, there's a million things that we're not going to go into because we have time constraints. But let me use one example as astrology. I probably have more than a few believers in reading their horoscope here and so forth. Okay. Well, believers might have a greater need for information about anxiety. That's very common. Believers are also more likely to accept vague self-descriptions as being accurate. And that's called the Barnum effect. It's called the Barnum effect, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And I have some handouts that I think you'll find fascinating. People also believe in astrology because it can help individuals comprehend themselves in the world. If you feel you're part of a greater plan, a greater purpose, much like I mentioned religion. Well, you believe in a God and that makes you feel part of a greater plan. Well, they're using the same thing in a very secular way to believe, with a focus on astrology. One study found that high school students who were initially skeptical were more likely to accept the personality description offered and increase their belief in astrology if that description was favorable. And we're going to talk about that. Personally favorable experiences predispose one to belief. And it's really fascinating. And again, this is one of the mind biases that I talked about. We're going to talk a lot more about that. And interestingly enough, one study, recent study, showed that narcissism and excessive self-absorption and preoccupation with one's own needs was surprisingly the strongest predictor of belief in astrology. And intelligence showed a negative relationship with belief in astrology. Now that's academic nerd way of saying the smarter you are, the less likely you are to believe in astrology. So they have to phrase it they have to phrase it that way. So having said that, I would like to pass out something to the audience because we're talking about beliefs, what we all know and things we all know. And I would like you all, would you mind being my passer outer and make sure, there you go. Make sure everyone gets that. Make sure everyone gets a copy.
There we go.
You ever been to the Magic Festival in Poland?
Absolutely. You're a little off mic, but the gentleman asked me if I've been to the Magic Convention in Cologne. It's the Abbott's Magic Company. It's the magic capital of the world. At one time, the largest magic company, yes, and my brother and I, he's also a magician. We have been there more than once, and it's an incredible experience. It's an incredible experience. Okay. Okay, what my fine assistant is passing out to everybody is a flyer called Common Things That We All Know. And half the audience has it, and we'll get the rest of them out here, so I really don't want to start without but if you read some of those, look them over, kind of give me an idea, and think in your head what your answer would be to those questions. I'm going to explain after we do this why I'm doing it. And you'll see exactly the purpose behind it. Okay, I'm going to read some of these, and others can read some. So let me just start here, and because this is audience participation, there's a microphone, but trust me, I'll repeat it. Whatever you say, I'm gonna repeat it. So let's start with the very first question. Common things we all know. The first question: how long did the 100 Years' War last? So anybody?
100 years.
100 years? It lasted 116 years. Okay. What country makes Panama hats?
Bolivia.
Ecuador. In which month do Russians celebrate the October Revolution? February, it's actually November. What is a camel's hair brush made of? It's made of squirrel fur. Don't worry, I'm sure they're shaved, they're not harmed in it. The Canary Islands in the Pacific are named after what animal? You should get this one. The Canary Islands in the Pacific are named after dogs. The young lady has a dog, so they're named after dogs. What was King George VI's first name?
Was he Elizabeth II's father?
Pardon me?
Was he Elizabeth II's father?
I have no idea.
Because if he was her father, then his name was Bertie.
It's Albert. His name, very good. Good, very good. Albert. His name was Albert. Very good. What color is the purple finch?
Red.
Crimson. Where are Chinese gooseberries from? She's getting it. Not China, young lady said. That's exactly right. That's designed to trip you. They're from New Zealand. And this one I think a lot of you will probably get. What color is the black box in a commercial airplane?
Red.
It's red or it's orange. Orange is a big one because we've had more plane crashes recently, unfortunately, so there's been a lot more promotion about it. And the reason I put this in here is because look at all these things. Now, when I took this test, even though I'm an academic, I failed. The only one I got was the black box because I knew. But these are the kinds of things when we're talking about biases, we're talking about what we believe and why. Look at all the things that, I mean, I've gone through my whole life, you know, thinking purple finch must be purple. I mean, that's purple. Panama hat must be named after Panama. So this is why it's so important to think a little bit critically about what we believe and why we believe it. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well. Okay. Now, everything we're talking about that I mentioned about horoscopes and astrology can be related to someone who is named Forer. Let me write his name down here. Okay. He's a psychologist named Bertram Forer. I'll write it big. I feel like I'm back in first grade here. F-O-R-E-R, Forer. Okay. Now, Bertram Forer wrote an article called The Fallacy of Personal Validation, a classroom demonstration of gullibility, that was published in the Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology in January of 1949. That's a real bunch of information. But what it is this. The study was a study. He was an educational psychologist teaching guidance. The study questioned the correctness of interpretations that were made from such things as case histories, projective tests, crystal gazing, and graphology. Graphology is handwriting analysis. So what he had is students filled out what was called the diagnostic interest bank. It consisted of hobbies, reading materials, personal characteristics, job duties, and secret hopes and ambitions of one's ideal person. 1 week later, each student was given a typed personality sketch. Remember, this was 1949. With their name written on it. And all the sketches that he gave them were identical. So Forer had students read sketches and rate how effective, because you would think you think this is a diagnostic test, and students were asked to raise their hands if they felt the test had done a good job. Virtually all the hands went up. We're going to talk about that, and I got some of the questions. It's really fascinating. Now, what the experiment demonstrated was the object lesson that there's a tendency to be overly impressed by vague statements and to endow the diagnostician, the person doing the testing, with an unwarrantedly high degree of insight. Okay? Now, that turned into what is called the Barnum effect. It's also called the Forer effect. And it describes what happens when individuals believe that generic information which could apply to anyone applies specifically to themselves. Examples of the Barnum effect. It can convince us that a particular horoscope, psychic reading, astrology chart, fortune cookie, or tarot card reading was meant just for us. It can convince us to accept online personality tests as valid and reliable. It can convince us to accept self-help books as valid and reliable, even if they contain only general information and advice that we think applies uniquely to us. It can convince us, boy, is this true in our culture, it can convince us that ads, such as political ads, are 100% accurate if we agree with the political point of view offered. I can't imagine that happening, though, in America. Now, it seems innocent enough when you talk about a horoscope, and well, so I read it every day, what's the big deal? It can cause problems. Here's a few of them. The Barnum effect can prevent us from thinking logically. Obviously, it's important to think logically, and if you're moving toward things that aren't necessarily logical, it's not a great way to live. And it can affect the way that we perceive health advice. And I came across an article, again, academic nerd in me, from Contemporary Therapies in Medicine. Okay, Complementary Therapies in Medicine. Now, complementary therapy, I mentioned, is forms of considered alternative or additional natural remedies and so forth when you're seeking conventional help. So, the people who wrote this have a vested interest in, they're not critics, they're pretty open to complementary medicine, but this is what they wrote. And I came upon this and I'm like, wow, I had to include it. Abstract. The Barnum effect refers to the fact that people accept bogus feedback as true for them if it is sufficiently vague based on scientific assessment, which is exactly what I just read. The the Forer effect is. 60 students were given samples of head hair, and the following week were given a trichosis diagnosis, which consisted of 24 bland statements regarding their health. Many of these were rated as highly accurate, which indeed was probably true. Discussions with the students afterwards showed that most of them had been duped by the procedure, which may well account for belief in various complementary medicine techniques. It was suggested that the Barnum effect could in part account for patients' personal testimonies for bogus practices. And nowhere is it more prevalent than online, where you'll see people popping up and so on and so forth. Yes, young man, question?
Barnum was a circus guy.
He was.
Barnum, is that?
That's Barnum. That is P.T. Barnum, the same one who said a sucker is born every minute. That's why it's called the Barnum effect. Very, very good. Yeah. So now here, and so basically what it can do is it can affect self-diagnosis in social media. For example, there's a growing trend in self-diagnosing mental health disorders. I don't know, this crowd is a little more middle-aged. I don't know so much that I'm also middle-aged. I don't know we get into that so much, but among the young, it's very, very, very prevalent. And some therapists think that social media platforms are to blame. For example, after seeing content about some of these disorders, some people feel the symptoms describe them, and even if the symptoms discussed are vague. If an individual relates to the video, they might feel these symptoms are accurately describing them, even if some of these things are just normal human experiences. Now, if you want to have some fun and you want to test that theory, go online, take 3 or 4 different tests. You'll see them for various mental health conditions, ADHD, among other things. Take 3 or 4 of them. See what the results are. I've done it. I guarantee you they will be from here to here. They're all over the place. You know, and it'd be like going to your doctor. When they do a blood test, it's exact. You can go to 2 doctors. That blood's going to show the same thing. So, although like I mentioned, it seems okay, horoscopes, what's the big deal? This is literally someone could change your whole life. And that's not something. Diagnostic testing for mental health disorders can be extremely, extremely expensive. That's one of the reasons people will look at self-diagnosis. It's not healthy. I heard a joke many years back that never, if you have a medical problem, never Google it because it's always going to end up as cancer. So, you know, so that's what you see. So the Barnum effect can also help perpetuate stereotypes and self-fulfilling prophecies. I mentioned that with politics. Well, it also goes to religion. It goes to race. It goes to ethnicity. Oh, those people this. Oh, I know somebody who's there, and you ignore everyone who doesn't fit into it. So again, that's not a good thing. It's okay to read your horoscope and think it's cute. That's not a good thing to do. Now, the Barnum effect is rooted in a cognitive bias, and it's known as subjective validation. It's also known as the validation effect. We consider information to be correct if it has personal significance because we subconsciously identify a relationship between 2 unrelated events. For example, I knew somebody in high school, and he swore up and down that Friday the 13th was a real thing. Because, and then we tried to tell him, you know, there was a Twilight Zone episode, something about Friday the 13th. Back then, we were all fans. And he's like, no, you know, everything, but he listed all these terrible things happening in his family. But what he forgot to note is that he was just noting the date. Terrible things happen in his family all the time. They happen all the time. But he did, and I've seen people, and we've all done this, and I'm not being judgmental. We've all done that where you see something and it confirms something you believe. Well, yeah. Even using, I mentioned complementary medicines. Well, I know people who use a lot of complementary medicines, and they will give credit. Well, what if the condition you had was self-limiting? Anyone who's had arthritis or anything, it knows it comes and goes. So maybe you fasted a week and your knees feel better. You're like, oh, this is so cool. Well, is it really what did it, or was time going to pass? I mean, there's another one of my favorite jokes. If you have a cold and you go to a doctor and the doctor treats it, it'll get better in 7 to 14 days. If you do nothing, it gets better in 1 to 2 weeks. So, in fact, you know, in a doctor, like antibiotics are good for viral infections. They're really not something you do. But anyway, so but that's basically the mindset. Okay. So we are typically more skeptical of critical statements and less likely to think they pertain to us. Example, somebody in a work setting and the boss doesn't name names, but he gives a lecture about people whose work isn't as good as it is. Well, it must be Charlie, and it's not John. I mean, he must be talking about that person. If he gives credit for something that's good, and you know, the goal was met, well, yeah, I did play a big part of that. Right away, okay. Again, that's kind of harmless, but not really. What if someone really has a serious problem they need to work on? You know, not accepting that could be very detrimental. And the Barnum effect can also illustrate confirmation bias, which describes our tendency to interpret new information in a way that will always confirm our existing beliefs, which is why it's so important to stop and think about it and look at it critically. And I include myself in that. So, thoughts on dealing with the Barnum effect? Well, think twice before applying vague information to yourself. Be an independent thinker. Recognize a vague statement. And it's real easy to recognize, although sometimes it's not. We'll talk about that in a minute. And verify information. Now, I also understand in our culturally polarized country, there's a distrust of certain science and a million other things. Then find something, at least go to your doctor. I have a great PCP. I've talked to her about things like apple cider vinegar because I had heard it can be good for her response, I know a lot of people who use it. Try it, it won't hurt you. I've talked to her about calcium and magnesium and a bunch of stuff. She doesn't blow me off, so when people say, oh, doctors, you know, they don't believe in this, find somebody who listens.
Yeah.
It's a changed world. This isn't 1950. Many, I forgot the statistic, but there are many thousands of people who use complementary medicines, yoga, acupuncture, and a lot of them don't even want to tell their doctor because they're afraid the doctor's going to say that's quackery. Ask your doctor. Don't go looking on YouTube with the anonymous guy in the coat who says he's a doctor in France and say, well, that, you know, that makes sense, right? So that's important, and that's the example of where I said it's very kind of harmless, the horoscope. This is something that literally could cost your life. It could literally cost you your life. Okay. So who would like to see some of the 4 questions that were used in the study? Show of hands. Okay, good. I don't know, you don't seem enthusiastic.
We're too old to lift up our
Come on, I'm not too old to be up here lecturing here. Okay, if you could pass those out as well to everybody.
Do you want me to take it? I'll do that when you do it. Huh? Yeah, I'd love it. Teresa, you're that girl. Then we go faster. Okay. All right. All right. One for you. One for you.
Okay. Now, this, I mentioned Bertram Foer. His name is still on there. It didn't disappear. Bertram Foer was the psychologist who gave the students the diagnostic inventory bank, which is a cool name for basically something that was fraud. These are some of the questions that he actually included in the assessment. These are the 4. He asked the questions. These are some of the answers that he gave in his diagnostic inventory book, and I'm going to read some of them. And as I'm reading them, ask yourself, or maybe think to yourself, if I took this test and somebody said, John, well, use your own name, but somebody said, John, what do you think about this? Could this be applying to you? Okay, number 1, you have a great need for other people to like and admire you. Number 2, you have a tendency to be critical of yourself. You have a great deal of unused capacity which you have not turned to your advantage. While you have some personality weaknesses, you're generally able to compensate for them. Disciplined and self-controlled outside, you tend to be worrisome and insecure inside. At times you have serious doubts as to whether you have made the right decision or done the right thing. You prefer a certain amount of change and variety and become dissatisfied when hemmed in by restrictions and limitations. You pride yourself as an independent thinker and do not accept other statements without satisfactory proof. At times you're extroverted, affable, sociable, while at other times you're introverted, wary, and reserved. Now, reading those, show of hands, how many of you could relate to probably a lot of that stuff? A lot of it. All of them? Okay. And that's a great example of the Foer effect. And I have another Great example of also the Barnum effect, the Fourier effect. As I mentioned at the beginning, I am a magician. I've been a magician since I was 7 years old, which is like 20 some years now or something, I don't know. I specialize in a field of magic that is known as mentalism. Mentalism is a fancy way of saying a magician who pretends to be a psychic. Okay, psychic, and I know you've seen them on TV, and a lot of them kind of act like they're quasi-real and so on and so forth. Those of you age-wise, again, well, I'm sure will remember Kreskin. Kreskin was a prominent mentalist. So what I do is I like to look at things that are psychic, things of a psychic nature. And what I came across was a publication. It was written back in the 20s. It was actually a group of publications by somebody who had no sense of ethics. It was absolutely no sense of ethics. And it was designed to show people how to do fake psychic readings in spiritualist churches and for individuals and so on and so forth. Basically, to create it was a scam. It was a big, big scam. And that was prevalent, and it was in the 1920s, and it was around for, he wrote a lot of stuff, and a lot of it now is in the public domain, so I feel very comfortable sharing with it. I say that because this was written many, many, many years ago, but I'm going to read, so I'm going to pretend that I'm doing a psychic reading. So imagine for a second, if you will, that you come and I have an office, and we're gonna leave off the turban and all. That's old school psychic stuff, you know. Nobody believes that. Pretend, for example, that maybe I'm a modern day psychic and I have a TV show and I see visions around you and I see dead people, which I won't name them. You know who I'm talking about. There's a couple of them. Imagine that's what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this psychic reading, and it's broken down into parts. So if you were a client sitting in front of me, I could read it all through. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at one of you as I'm reading it. But I want the rest of you to pretend and imagine that I'm reading it to you. Okay? And I'm going to ask at the end what you think. And we're going to also go back to some things. But pretend, again, I'm a psychic. I can visualize at the present time things are not improving as you desire. I'm putting on my best psychic voice. It seems you just go so far ahead and then you return back to where you started from. A circle of negative currents surrounds you, and unless you can eliminate these bad influences, you will not be able to have the realizations that you desire. You certainly have the power to sway, control, charm, and fascinate those you come in contact with. But you're using only a small amount of power. You have more power than you dream of, but it lies dormant. Develop it. Persuade others to assist you in obtaining the things you want in life. You have an amiable and cheerful disposition, but sometimes during a conflict you respond unexpectedly irritable, and it displeases those present. You have willpower, but you lack the sufficient amount which is so necessary to accomplish the big things in life. Develop the power of will and become the master of any situation. In 18 months or so, an unexpected lawsuit will come up which necessitates your appearance. By its turnout, you will triumph in some way. At times, you're too outspoken. Try holding your tongue a bit if you wish to keep all of your friends. You've missed some now. Yes, you can trust your closest friend. An elderly person wishes to make friends with you because he is interested in you and you can trust him implicitly. By coincidence, you will meet a friend you haven't seen for a long time. Some people flatter you too much. Don't take it too seriously and let it go to your head. Do a good job of your present task. You will come to an obstacle. How to overcome this will depend upon wise planning, persistence, and the power of your will. The circulating gossip is now present, caused by envy and jealousy, and it shows your influence. It may worry you for a while, but don't let it affect you. No one can be successful without enemies. A wedding or divorce will happen in a year which will in some way concern you. You will experience the danger of losing something valuable. If you're cautious and observant, you'll avoid losing it. A surprise meeting in a public place will occur with one who cares for you, and it might give you an opportunity to clear up something that was bothering you. A call or message or an in-person meeting, I don't know which, but one you have been waiting for will give you a wonderful feeling, even a new thrill. During the cool weather, you will hear about a scandal in your vicinity within 3 or 4 months. Avoid connection with it and you'll avoid trouble. You've been nursing a hidden wish, and it will come true after some time. Not in the manner you expected at first planned. A proposal by some friend requires your deepest consideration. Give it some thought for a few days, but please don't be in a hurry to answer. Now, of all the folks that I was actually looking at and the rest of you, how generic was that? How many of you would raise a hand and could say a lot of that stuff could be describing me? Okay. Now, here's the kicker. I got this from information that was published, like I said, in a publication back in the 20s. I barely, to make it a little updated, I culturally changed, I barely changed a word. I barely changed a word. So the same stuff that was being told to people way back in the day to create a fake psychic aura, it can work today. And again, you will do that. Now, a couple of things that I thought were funny. Curious, not funny. Where that a lot of these things are open-ended. Remember, if I'm giving readings in a church, or you come to me as a psychic, by the time some of these things happen, you'd be long gone. Okay, I'll be long gone. Okay, let's say, for example, you come and I got an office. And give me an example and how general some of these are. A wedding or divorce will happen in a year, which in some way will concern you. Okay, think about that. Maybe it's the neighbor down the street who's been married 40 years and they get divorced. Maybe it's a celebrity you really like. Maybe. So again, based on our bias, we're going to read into it. And you're going to remember, you're going to forget, they're called hits and misses. You're going to remember the hits a psychic has. You're going to forget all the misses. So when that pops up, you'll be like, oh my God, that guy told me about a wedding and he's right, it's my neighbor. How did he know? He didn't know. You created it. You created it. Here's another good one. You will hear about a scandal in your vicinity within 3 to 4 months. Avoid connection with it and you will avoid trouble. Now, what does that mean? A scandal in my vicinity? Well, maybe that's because your boss at work embezzled money, but you weren't involved, so I guess that's a scandal, right? Maybe it's the banker down the street. We had an incident many years ago in Dearborn Heights when someone just took the money and ran. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, that's 2. A scandal in maybe it's a politician. Good golly, a politician getting involved in a scandal, who would think it? You know, but if you're not in politics and you're not affected. So there's 3 options right there, but the minute any of those things happens, your mind is going to be, oh my God, he told me about blah, 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 stealing and embezzling at the city. How could he know? He didn't know. He planted the seed and you let it grow. Okay. Now, another thing besides the things we're talking about, the 4 effect, biases, and reading into it, are some other ways that the mind can play tricks on us. Okay, in a minute I'm going to do some things involving the power of suggestion. I'm going to ask for some volunteers. I promise, whoever comes up, whoever helps me with this, I'm not going to embarrass you. I just ask that you feel comfortable. We got a decent sized group of people here, so I ask that you be comfortable with it. These, for a while, the couple of these can be done in your seat. It can be done in your seat. So if everyone kind of just sit as best you can, feet on the ground, for some of these in a moment. First one, I would like everybody here first to quickly think of a 2-digit number between 1 and 100, both digits odd, both digits different from each other. Okay, concentrate on it. Everybody got a number? Raise of hands, how many of you thought of 37? Okay, quite a few thinking of 37. Okay, now that's called the primacy effect in memory. And I promise we won't get boring, but that's called the primacy effect in memory. You tend to remember the things at the start better. 37 is somewhere in the middle. 13 would be too small. 97 would be too big. So this is called the cognitive bias. Another one. Everybody think of a number between 1 to 4. Everybody think of a number between 1 to 4. How many of you picked the number 3? Okay, oh, look at that, most of the audience. Okay, now, the reason I think most of you picked the number 3 is because I said 1 and 4 in the number 2. I said 1 and 4. I'm sorry, I said pick a number 1 to 4. 2, T-O, sounds like 2 in our minds. So you selected the only number I didn't mention. Pick a number, 1, 2, 4. Well, that would leave 3. So your mind automatically kind of changed it, and you didn't even realize it. And we're going to talk about this a little bit when I do some of the suggestion. And it's not because we're like out of touch. Our brain works in a lot of ways it saves us time. Our brain looks for patterns. What I showed about the parking lot, everybody and myself when I first saw it, holding up the poster, we're looking for patterns. What number fits there? No number fits there, and we're going, why it isn't it? Because we're looking at it, and I flip it, and you're like, of course, it's the totally opposite side because we're looking at it differently. Everyone, think of a color. Think of a color. How many of you thought of red? Oh, look at that, another raise of hands. Think of a vegetable. Everybody got a vegetable? How many thought of carrot? Again. Okay, good. This is good. Now, these are all great examples. I won't get into all the academic nerdiness, but those are great examples from cognitive science and how the mind works and how the mind can influence us. Now, these are some of the, I'm going to do some suggestibility, power suggestion tests. You can do some, we're going to do some of these here, and you can stay in your seats for some of these. And then a couple more I'm going to ask folks to come on up. Can everybody take your right hand, put it high up in the air? Just wave your hand around, okay? Make a circle with your thumb and forefinger, okay? Look through the circle, make it into an okay sign, as if someone asked you, what was that presentation like at the library? How was that guy? You're going to all do this, okay? Do that. Look at the circle at me. Look at the circle at your neighbor. Look at it again like me. Now place it on your chin. Place it on your chin. Okay.
Oh, you got me.
I did get you.
Totally got me.
This is it. That is a great example. What I did was in 2 seconds, I bypassed your analytical mind and I had you accept the visual suggestion. Now, why is this important? What does it show? Well, think about advertising. How often by demonstrations, if you ever go to a fast food place and you look at the menu outside, does any of that food ever look like what you get? No, it doesn't. So that's interesting. It's an amusing example now, but that's a great example of how our minds work and what we have to be aware of. Okay. Now, this is the only reason I would like to have some folks come up, because I'm going to have you do some moving in your hands. I don't want you to whack your neighbor on the back of the head. So I need at least 3 people. I'm going to move some stuff here. I would like at least 3 people. Who's comfortable in being in front of a group? I promise you won't be disappointed. You're going to be okay in terms of movement of hands? It's okay. Who else? Anyone else interested?
Come on, Dan.
Oh, here, a young lady in the back. Young lady, no, you can, we're going to need 3 people. Young lady in the back. Okay. We'll move this here. You won't, I have the mic, this microphone is for the recording purposes, since you won't, yeah, young man too. Hey, you won't need to really be speaking. I'll have you watch. Could I have you please, and just pull these 3 chairs and sit in front of them. Could you pull them out one by one? Thank you. Thank you. And you can all, there you go. Just allow enough space, because what I'm going to have you do in a moment is put your hands out. Okay. Yeah, as long as, are we good on camera? You got a good picture shot of them? Okay. 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 Now, what I would like you all to do, if you could, is just put your feet as best you can on the floor. Okay. People in the audience, if you're not going to hit someone, you can follow along with this, but you can put your stuff down there. You're more than welcome. You'll see why in a moment. Okay. Could I have everybody who's up on the front, just sit comfortably with your hands extended in front of you, okay, with your right palm facing up, your left palm facing down, okay? Left palm facing down. Can I have you close your eyes and just imagine that your right hand is holding a big, heavy bucket, an old wooden style one with iron bands around it. Now imagine that bucket being filled up with big rocks, weighing it down. Imagine that it's also beginning to be filled with thick, heavy, wet sand, making it heavier and heavier. As you notice the bucket in your right hand getting heavier, visualize a big, colorful bunch of helium balloons tied to your left wrist. Gently, but insistently, pulling that hand forward and upward. Concentrate on these sensations. The downward pull of the heavy, full bucket and the light, upward tug of the big bunch of helium balloons. Imagine adding more sand to the bucket, making it even heavier and heavier, and tying more and more helium balloons to the bunch, feeling them lift your arm so they float toward the skies. Okay, now open your arms. Open your eyes. No, young lady, notice the difference. Notice the difference in position on your hands. You had your hand was way up there too, which is great. You're about even. What happens is our imagination. This is an example to show our imagination, how it can influence. Now that's the simplest. That's like the simplest example of how the imagination, in a matter of a few minutes, can actually affect us, can affect our mind, body. And I have something else I'll be talking about in one of the other tests that is also an incredible example. It's one of the best examples of the power of the mind that I've ever seen in my life. So I'll leave you in suspense for that one. I'm going to show something else. I'm going to sit here, but I'm going to move here as soon as I'm going to show you all what I would like you to do. Okay, with just your feet on the floor. And you can do this as well. Anyone up front, as long as you don't kick someone. I don't think we're insured for that. What I would like you to do in a moment is I'm going to, which hand what's your dominant hand you write with? Are you right-handed? Who's right-handed? Everyone right-handed? Okay. What I would like you to do in a moment, not now, but in a moment, I'm going to have you draw a 6, the number 6 in the air. Okay, we'll have you do that in a moment. Draw number 6. And at the same time, this is why we need space. At the same time, I want you to take the same foot attached, to the same hand, right foot, and go in a circle. Go clockwise in a circle. Okay, is that easy? Sound easy? Now start it. Try doing them both together now. Take the 6 and keep it straight. Watch what's happening. Keep going. Okay, you see? Now, it's very, very, very difficult to do. You can do it if you practice and with concentration. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that we're all have defective bodies? No. I show that one simply as an illustration on the power of the brain. The reason you can't do that is because, and I don't know all the scientific names for it, your brain is using 2 different parts. Your brain is using 2 different parts, and it can't do it. So I always find that interesting. I have people who, one of them actually present here, who argues with me nonstop how I can multitask, I can do this sort of thing. Well, you try doing this, and he can't do this either. I showed it to him. Try doing this, and you can't even keep your foot going at the same time. So if that simple task, which seems so simple, can't be done, well, it makes me wonder about it. So, but that I think is a great illustration. I think it's a great illustration of the power of the mind. And it's one of the mysteries. I mentioned the mysteries of the mind. I mean, who would think that? Because when you first read that, and when I first read a lot of these, I thought to myself, well, that's simple. Any idiot can do it, and that would include me. But I couldn't. And I've tried. Now, again, if you practice, you have to practice. What happens, though, people try to compensate. I've tried it to show it to people, and those who can do it, they compensate. Like they'll put their foot up. Well, it's easy when your foot is out. Try keeping your foot down to keep it going clockwise. So it looks easy. So I appreciate that. The last one, and this is one of my favorites, and you can all still do this, even though you don't have to do anything physical. You can all feel free to sit there. I love this one because this illustrates an incredible example of the mind and the way our mind can influence our bodies. Okay. Can I have everyone in the audience can do this? Can I have you just all close your eyes? Everybody just close your eyes and just sit with your feet flat on the floor. Just close your eyes and imagine that you're holding a bright, yellow, juicy lemon in your hand. Picture yourself slicing into it, releasing a burst of citrus aroma and cutting it into quarters. Imagine the lemon juice running out of it. Now imagine raising one of the quarters, putting it in your mouth and taking a big bite. Feel the juice running into your mouth. Taste it on your tongue, and imagine the sensation of that lemon juice as it fills your mouth. Okay, open your eyes. What did they experience? Anyone experience their mouth watering?
Yes.
Okay.
I puckered.
Puckered, oh, very good. Now, I love that one because that shows, again, just like the hands, how simple just thinking about something can cause an immediate body reaction. So the mind can influence us in many ways that we don't even know about. And one of my favorite, again, I'm an academic nerd. I've got the proof right here. One of my favorite studies was research that was done on minoxidil. No, I don't use it. Every drug that's tested has to have a placebo. The only way it can be marketed, it has to have a placebo, which is the control group. And I know it's a common word that you all know. A placebo is simply an inert substance. It's an inert substance. So let's say you're testing a pain medication. Someone will get the actual pain medication in a pill. Someone will get something gelatin or a sugar pill that looks just like it. Okay, and nobody knows what it is. A good research study, speaking of critical thinking, if you're looking for good research, look for everything that is called a random controlled trial. A random controlled trial means, I see a lot of nodding heads here, so I think we got some medical people or who knows here in the audience. A random controlled trial means that it's considered the gold standard. It means that there are controls. What you watch out for are studies that we'll talk about. Case there's an individual study or it's not a randomized group. For example, not to get off topic, but there is a study called the nurses study, which is a cohort that studied nurses for many, many years, I think 40, 50 years. So they followed them forever. And so they looked at vitamins, nutrition. So that's a lot more reliable. So that's a great example. But this is my favorite. This is of all my studies, I have an interest in the mind, body, and the placebo. This is my favorite absolute study, okay? It's called a double-blind, placebo-controlled evaluation of topical minoxidil in extensive alopecia areata. I hope I pronounced that right. It's a fancy way of saying double-blind means nobody knew. The researchers didn't know who was getting the placebo, nor did the people get the placebo. So I'm guessing it's a lotion. Like I said, I've never used it. So I'm guessing it was some sort of lotion. Now, the thing that blows my mind, and this is from back in 1987, which was probably when it came on the market. This was a study that probably put it there. Hair growth. Okay, and this is people taking the placebo. This is people taking an inert substance that has no pharmaceutical value. Hair growth was seen in 5 of 14 evaluable subjects. In the placebo group, that's 35.7%. Almost 36% of people taking a placebo they thought was growing hair actually grew their hair. And that's wild. And you'll see that one of the biggest things now in terms of research are what's called open label placebos, where people will be given a medication that isn't a medication. They will be given a placebo, again, an inert substance, and told that it's placebo, it may help you want to try it, and again, it contains no medicine. In irritable bowel syndrome, back pain, and a million things, it actually has incredible value. It has actually been proven effective. So think about that. Think about, again, mind, think about what your mind is doing. It actually is taking something it knows really isn't real, but it's triggering something in your subconscious mind that says, hey, this thing's working. In fact, I remember kind of a funny thing. One of the studies I remember reading, and I don't have it with me, was a researcher who discontinued the test. It was a woman who had back pain. And he discontinued the test, and she was taking an open label placebo. Again, something that had no medicinal value. She begged him over and over, like, to sneak her a bottle of this stuff because she said that was the only thing that helped her pain. So think about that. Think about how incredible the mind is. Thanks. Can we give a hand for our volunteers here? Thank you. You're very kind. Okay. Actually, you two folks, if you want to stay up here, I got something, rather than going back, you want to volunteer for something else. It's not a suggestion test. I'll show you. No, can I have you, let me just move some of those seats. Can you move, I just want to move these out of the way because I want to make sure. So, yeah, you can both stand, but if you could stand, if you move these seats here and stand to the side for me. I'm sorry. What's your name? Scott. Scott. Okay.
And Karen.
I know. We're all through with these, so push them over. Okay. We can get it. Are you getting a good shot with this? If they stand, can I have you stand right over here for me? Just facing me. No, you can stand here. No, you can turn this way. Okay. And if you, here, we're going to use this microphone. If you can just hold on to that for a second here. Okay. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to sing Feelings or something. I mean, because I have a microphone on for the filming purposes, and this will pick up what you say. Can I have you just shuffle that deck? Are you good at shuffling cards? Shuffle them. Everyone can pretty much see this. Mix them up whatever you can. God, I just want to make sure you're both being able to be seen. Okay, that's good. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is something you can do at home, so I'm kind of going to break a magician's rule. I'm going to show you how to do this, but shh. And I'm only showing this because it illustrates, again, the incredible power of the mind, which is what we're doing, and I'll explain what this illustrates after I do it, okay? But we're going to show you. What I'm going to do is count out 10 cards here. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? It's fair enough? Okay, what I'm going to do is make 2 piles. Okay? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay? Do you know what teleportation means?
Is that when you can have something sent to another place?
Very
or
good.
person sent to
That's a psychic power. I have that,
I got yeah.
I lie.
I got a joke. My mom, she used to have
I'm
kids.
sorry, can you hold the microphone? I'm sorry.
So-
That's my fault.
That microphone.
So my mom, she used to have her Achilles tendon stretched, and they had her in cast for many years. In the grocery store, my mom would go over to where the frozen is as quick, and I'm like, "Where's my mom?" We used to say she teleported just because we couldn't catch up to her, and she's on a cast supposed to go slow, but she must have ducked down another aisle.
Very good.
Just like-
No, it's good. Tell me if you just want to make sure you're both on camera. Okay, so you've seen this, right? And we've counted them. Have I touched or anything? Obviously, I was there.
Probably looking at the audience.
Well, no, was I fine? I didn't mess with it, right? Okay. Now, based on my incredible psychic powers, what I did is I moved one card from one pile to the other. Do you believe that? Are you one of those skeptics? Okay. Can I have you take that pile, and if you want to get the microphone, count those here. I'm going to touch them there. Count them out loud. Count them out loud. Count them out loud so everyone sees.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Whoa, count these.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Whoa.
What?
What did can you believe that? Yeah. Can you believe that? Okay, hang on. Don't blow it yet. Okay, thank you. You're very analytical. Are you math related? You do something math-wise with your career? Okay, hang on.
I'm a buyer.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Here's why. Scott says he's got it. Here's why. What I did when I dealt out 10 cards, I'm going to do it again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? Fair enough. 10 cards, correct? Nothing funny going on. So what I did here is something that's really called priming. Because most of the time, how do we count cards? If you're playing poker, how do you count them? Do you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? No, how do you?
No, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5,
Thank you.
6, 7, 8,
Okay.
9, 10.
So what I did in that brief couple of seconds is I convinced your mind that that was a legitimate way to count. Now, what is 10 divided by 2? What is 10 divided by 5? 2. So if I make 2 separate piles, that would be 5, right? Makes sense. Because what our brains do is they look for patterns, and they also look for shortcuts. You saw me count 10, that was legitimate. Okay, what I did was I counted backwards because the only way this works is because you have to count backwards. So what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to count them face down here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. How many cards are there? 6. Okay. Because your mind accepted that that's a legitimate way to count cards, and therefore it's called. Now that's called. Let me put cards here. Okay, that's called a cognitive slip. It's called a cognitive slip, and it happens because we look for patterns. Here's a good example of a pattern that it's okay to have. Let's say I'm going to leave here, and we're all going to leave here. I'm going to drive my car. When I come to a green light, I'm not going to stop and debate. I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to stop and debate. What does that mean? Should I go? Because think about how our lives would be if we did that. How our lives, we'd be like, shh, our heads would explode. Because you couldn't possibly do it. So we have a shortcut in our heads since I was 16. Green means go, yellow means slow down, and red means stop. Okay, and obviously people do ignore them. I understand that, but it's a shorthand way because our brains could not cognitively stop and process everything. Does that make sense? Your brains can't cognitively process. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you to our 2 volunteers. I appreciate it. Very good. You're very kind. Okay. I'm sorry for drinking all the water, but boy, it's a little humid. Okay, now, since we're in a library, I thought what better way to test psychic phenomena, and this is the part where I lie and pretend that I'm a psychic. What would be a great example to illustrate psychic powers? Okay, and I came up with something. I'm going to do a couple of demonstrations now. Those are actual, very legitimate demonstrations. I'm going to do what's called mentalism. Call me a fake psychic. I don't know, call me that. I'm very open. I'm a magician playing the part of a psychic. So I don't deceive anyone. Well, I do deceive you. I do it intentionally. I'm an honest liar. I think, isn't that what Randy, to our magician friends, used to call himself, an honest liar. So. Okay, and Jason over there is our librarian. Hi, Jason. He doesn't really like being on camera, but I'm going to embarrass him for 2 seconds. I saw you had a book there.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
going to, don't worry, I'm not going to keep it. Can I have you just put it, well, who wants to, in a second I'm going to do another demonstration. Who wants to help me with this book? Anyone want to help me with a book test? Nobody?
I'll help you.
Okay, thank you, young lady. Jason, could you bring this up here and just have this young lady hold on to it here? I promise I'll give it back. I'm going to use that one for my second demonstration. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Okay. So anyway, I figured what better place to show some illustrations of psychic phenomenon than using words and using a book. So. And if I had a better joke, I could say I disappear and come back here when I walk behind. But I can't really think of anything. No. I'm not David Copperfield. Well, that's generational too. Okay. Now I will need somebody to come up here in a moment and help me. Who feels comfortable? All I'm going to do is this. I'm going to ask you to write a word on this whiteboard, and I'm going to try to use my incredible psychic powers to define what that word is. I won't look at it, okay? So whoever feels, all I'm going to have you do is write the word, and I'm going to have you cross out the letters if I get any, if I call them. So who would like to help me with that? Who's going to be comfortable?
I'll do it, but my writing's terrible.
That's okay. You can write. That's okay. We can use you for another one. Okay. No, I'm talking to the other young lady volunteer. So what I'm going to do, if I can have you just turn and face the audience. I don't think you'll be needing the microphone because basically I'm going to ask you to, I just explained what I'm going to ask you to do. I don't want, it's kind of awkward to keep using it. I don't want to do that. So what I did, before I got here, we got about 30 some cards. You can look at them. Okay. And some of them have bigger words on them, all different words. Okay, I'm going to have you look through these. Some have smaller words on them. Okay. It's. Stein. It's. So what I would like you to do in a moment is to write. I'm going to just move back here. I won't look. Okay. I want you to write it real big on here. Now you can pick any word you want. You can feel free to show the audience. You can pick any word you want. But I think in order to kind of make it challenging, don't pick it. I mean, you know, we have to keep the show going a little bit.
Okay.
So don't pick it. But if you can pick a bigger word, and I'm going to do this. Let me go here. And here's the drawing. And I'm going to just stand over here like this. I promise I'm not looking. Nobody's cueing me. Just tell me when you've written the word. And just yell it out.
Okay, I picked the word.
Okay, and you wrote it down?
Not yet.
Okay, can you write it down there, please? Uh-oh. You're not writing something naughty, are you? Or
You tell me.
good one, good one. Okay. Can you just put the card down on the table? It's fine. I'll put it face down.
Okay.
And you put a word?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to try to psychically divine what word you put up there, okay? But I can only do it in letters because my brain doesn't work that quickly, okay? So I'm going to ask you if there's a letter in there. If there is a letter, I want you to say yes. Take a marker and take the marker and put a slash through it, okay? And very importantly, because again, it's coming to me in pieces. There's 30 some words. I can't remember them all. So what I want you to do after I do that is when it's through, just say finished. When you've crossed off all the letters in the word, just say done, okay? So you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an I in the word?
Yes.
Okay. Cross it off.
I did.
Is there an S?
Yes.
Is there a T?
Yeah.
Is there an E?
Yes.
Is there an N?
Yes.
Is there a P?
Yes.
Is there a D?
Yes.
Is there an R?
Yes.
How many more letters?
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Is
He did the E.
there's two, I called off the two, yeah, two E's.
Oh. Oh yeah.
Okay. Is there an A?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Is there, how many letters are left?
2.
Is there an O?
Yes.
Is there an M?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's
There you
it.
go.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's good. It's a good choice. Long word.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think you picked the biggest word in the of the 30-some.
That was the third card. I just looked at it.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. I'm glad you did. Good. I'm glad you did. Okay.
The other long word, president, was in there.
Is it? What do you mean?
Was it
Precedent?
I-D-E-N-T.
Was it president or
Oh,
president?
I thought she had a card.
No, I didn't. Good. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration. Are you racing
Well,
now?
how'd you do that?
Can you keep a secret?
Yeah.
So can I. Okay. And for my final demonstration, and this one is, actually this isn't my final, I'm sorry, I have one more after this. This isn't my final demonstration. But again, I was thinking about what things could I do in a library to illustrate the power of the mind. And again, word, I thought that was appropriate. In a book, what better? Hello. And what a cool coincidence, Jason just happened to be have one there. Okay. What I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to ask for some random numbers, okay? But I don't want one person to give me all the numbers. So we're going to go to 3 different people, okay? So, who would like to help me with the first number? Young man? No. Give me, I'm going to write them down so we don't forget. I'm going to write it on the board because that makes me feel like a teacher. Give me a number, 1, 2, or 3. 1. Okay, who else wants to give me a number? Don't shout it out, just tell me, raise your hand. Who wants to give me another number? Give me a number, 4, 5, or 6, because we want to get all the numbers. 4, 5, 5. And last person who wants to give me another number, 7, 8, or 9. Young man?
8.
8. I'm just putting it here. Oh, once again I vanished. Okay. Now, and this is probably the toughest illusion I have to do. I just wrote, just so we know, number 3. Jason's book, correct? Can I have you, and I'm not going to be anywhere near you, can I have you, in fact, let me get out of the way. Give me a second. Get out of your way. I'm going to stand right over here. Can I have you turn to that page 158? Okay? I want you to mentally read the first 3 words. Read them mentally, okay? Are you doing that right now?
Yes.
I'm getting gelatin. There's like gelatin. Is there something related to one of the words?
Yes.
Is it Knox?
Yes.
K-N-O-X?
Yes.
The first 3, I'm getting the other 2 as made, M-A-D-E, and Knox made Is that accurate?
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. What? Can you keep a secret?
Yes. Thank you. You can here. You can hang it. Thank you. I'll just make sure.
Very good.
Thank you, Jason.
What?
Okay.
No way.
Yes.
Wait, what? Teresa, did it really say that?
Yes, it did.
Oh yeah, you can feel free to. Well, if Jason doesn't mind, feel free to look at it.
Let me see that.
Page 158.
158.
And you could. And remember, I used 3 random people here, so it's not like one person gave them to me. So it could have been any combination. Okay. Okay. I have one more thing I'd like to illustrate, and then, Jason, how are we on time?
I've got like 15 minutes.
Okay, good, because we were hoping we might be able to have a little discussion. So, let me see somebody who, you've all been kind. Incidentally, I have, just for what it's worth, I have some of the flyers and some extra ones and some cool stuff. You can take this with you. I've also got some other stuff. It's not camera readable, but there's some really cool stuff that you can take as handouts. I'd like to get, sir, you haven't volunteered for any, could I get your assistance for a second? You can stay in your seat, okay? No, you're fine. You can, yeah, unless you want to stand. You don't have to stand in my presence. Save that for after. Now, what I did, before I came here, this is my last effect demonstration. When I came here, I have 3 pictures. This is a picture of a lion, okay? Picture of a lion. I also have, look at that, a picture of a dog, okay? Ooh, a wise owl, just like me. Look at that, I got an owl. Okay. Now, sir, you've seen the pictures. You see a dog, see a lion, and you see the owl. Can I have you name one of those pictures for me?
I was thinking about naming the dog because of this little one.
Okay.
You were influencing me, but I'm going to mix it up and say the lion.
You sure you want the lion?
Yes, I want the lion.
You're positive?
Yes,
You sure? You're 100% sure?
100% sure.
You don't want to change your mind? You know, it's funny because, and this is called precognition. Speaking of paranormal things, this is called precognition, predicting the future. Before I came here, you know, I knew you were going to select the lion. Did you know that?
I did.
No, see, but I did. See, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here and you're there. So on the back of the lion, I wrote, ooh, you will select the lion. That's pretty cool. How come I don't hear any applause? The other ones, are you doubting me? Are you saying I would try to deceive you? Well, you're right. But I was so confident that you would pick the lion. Then on the back of the owl, I thanked you again. Thank you again for selecting the lion. And on the back of the dog, I wrote, thank you again.
Wow.
Okay, one more drink here. So as I was preparing for this presentation today, I always look for a way to convey what I've said in some sort of story. Okay, what I came upon was a parable called "The Boatman and the Scholar." The Boatman and the Scholar. And it's a parable that I think illustrates what I hope happened here today and what I would like to have you all take with you. Okay? So I'm going to read it. And we're going to conclude this. We do have some time. Jason, according to you, some questions, a few minutes, very few, but okay. An English scholar from Oxford chanced to visit India for the first time. Due to his vast learning and erudition, he was overly proud of himself. And because he was not one to ask for help, this would soon get him into trouble. One day as he approached the Ganges River, he haughtily beckoned a local boatman to carry him across the swiftly moving water to his destination. As the boatman got underway, the scholar asked, "My dear boatman, sir, I wonder if perhaps you've ever studied quantum mechanics? Are you familiar with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? Schrodinger's equation? Have you studied Einstein's theory of relativity?" The surprised boatman, a simple working man with no education, replied, "No, sir, I've never studied any of those subjects. I only know this boat and how to cross the river." "Well, then," the scholar replied, "1/3 of your life is lost." The boatman continued pulling the boat along for some time, after which the scholar asked again, "I say, my dear boatman, sir, are you familiar with Bohm's theory of the holographic paradigm? Perhaps you are familiar with the New Age phenomenon of trance channeling. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience?" To these bewildering questions, the boatman replied simply, "No, sir, I'm not familiar with these subjects. I only know this river and how to work this boat." "Ah, my dear boatman, another third of your life is wasted," replied the scholar. The boatman continued pushing the boat toward the middle of the river with his long pole. The appearance of ominous, dark clouds showed up overhead, and a swell of waves in the river caused the scholar to remark, "My dear boatman, are you familiar with the computer mappings of the Earth and meteorology? Do you know astrology? How the movements of the stars affect your good and bad fortune? Did you know this planet has been visited by extraterrestrial beings?" To this, the boatman replied, "No, sir. I'm sorry, I don't know any of those things." To this, the scholar replied, steadying himself through the rough waters again, once said, "Well then, my dear boatman, another third of your life is wasted." Just then, a large wave swamped the boat, at which time the boatman exclaimed, "I'm afraid that you will have to swim to shore as the boat is lost." The scholar shouted, "I don't know how to swim." "Well now," the boatman replied, "I guess your whole life is wasted." The moral of the story is a lifetime spent in pursuit of knowledge without practical realization is a waste of time. It's better to spend one's time in the pursuit of self-realization than merely collecting information. And I use this parable, and I like it because it reminds me of my wish for all of you tonight. I hope you found the presentation tonight informative, entertaining. My fervent wish is that you go about your daily lives, you think about what we've talked about, and hopefully you apply some of these ideas and take a look at what you believe and what others believe and what you can learn about yourself and about themselves. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, Jason, we got they want us out of here at 7:30, so they won't beat us up. But 5 minutes. Does anyone have any thought or question about something that maybe you learned today that you're like, oh, that's interesting, I didn't know that before? Yes, sir.
Have you noticed any paranormal activity?
Have I noticed any in what sense?
Well, like Josh Gates went to Eloise, and on the 5th floor there were some figures doing operations.
Okay. For the taping, this gentleman is asking for those of you outside the area. Eloise is a former psychiatric hospital that has now been opened as like a Halloween attraction, and people take tours and stuff through it. And yes, I've known people who reported paranormal things. And again, based on everything that I know and what I've covered, I could very easily see why someone would see it, because you expect to see. You expect to see haunting things, and you expect all kinds of things. Haunted houses, by definition, get the reputation. There was the Amityville Horror, or one of those shows where, and when there was a huge thing, and I know there was questionable stuff about how authentic that was, and it was investigated, but when you're looking for something, you're going to find it. And that's a great example. I know somebody who went, and he told me, he's like, well, it was like really cold. Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking underground. I mean, for some of that stuff, so yeah, they had tunnels. Well, yeah, a tunnel is going to be cold. But if it had been another setting, he wouldn't have seen that. He wouldn't have thought about it. He would have said, oh, I'm in a tunnel, it's cold. Well, yeah, it's cold, I'm in a tunnel. But he read into it a lot of paranormal things. So I think that's what it is. I'm also really surprised by how expensive it is. For some of the tours are very expensive there, but that's a side note. But yeah, I don't think, if you're asking me, are these so-called ghost hunters that I've seen on TV and that, do I think there's anything valid? I don't think it's any more valid than you or I going in there and giving our opinion about it. So I hope that answers I hope that doesn't demolish it, but I hope that answers your question. I don't want to demolish your hopes if you thought it was haunted, but. And again, who knows? The point is, we don't always know these things I talked about, near-death experiences. We don't know, so we have to accept the most credible information. But if someone wants to believe in something, if someone gets up with their coffee and reads their horoscope, that's not going to kill them. But once you start making your entire life, there are people who literally don't make a move without calling their psychic. That's not a healthy place to be in. It's not a healthy place you want to be in. So. Anything else, ma'am?
You had said that like the Barnum Foray effect.
Right.
It goes like general vague statements.
Right.
And then we, as individuals, we apply them specifically
right.
to ourselves.
Correct.
Self-fulfilling prophecies, I understand, but
right.
could you just say a little bit more about how stereotypes play into that, or how that affects stereotypes?
Yeah, stereotypes, yeah, that's a good question. I appreciate that. The stereotypes, okay, stereotypes can be good and they can be bad and they can be neutral. For example, I'm going to take it on faith that most of us here are American. So when we've gone through school, certainly I was taught that certain political ideologies, I'll be blunt, communism and so forth, these are not good philosophies. Those are not, and of course, and I agree, I don't want to get into politics, but I don't want to live in a communist society either. But the point is, the reason we think that is because we were raised in that culture. So yeah, we're going to stereotype. Look at how in characters, for example, on TV, look at how Russian women are stereotyped as these old, disgusting, overweight and on and on. That's a stereotype. That's a bad stereotype. We have stereotypes about other countries, the French, the great lovers, and and so forth.
Right.
So that's how the stereotype comes, but until you stop and question the stereotype, it's going to keep going. And it's not so much that bad, but when you talk about, let's say for better or worse, and I'm not going to get into it, you can use your imaginations. We think certain ethnicities are smarter in math and other things, or certain religions, they have this ability to make wealth. That's a bad stereotype. It sounds like it might be good. It's just as bad as making a racist or anti-religious comment about them. So, and it starts because we accept the suggestion without questioning it. All the things I mentioned and I showed, for example, the demonstration with the hands and the lemon, you all could have very easily rejected my suggestion, but because it's a legitimate thing and it's a fun thing, you're not being harmed, you accepted it. You could have very easily said, no, I don't want to do it, as many of you seated here didn't come up here, and that's fine. But that's how a suggestion, it either has to be consciously accepted or rejected.
Oh, is it kind of like a bilateral, like, I see an individual and they fit into whatever characteristics or group, or however I'm going to identify them, and I think one person, and I'm going to generalize to a whole bunch of people, or I can say, oh, I think a certain way about a whole bunch of people, they all have this characteristic, so there's that person, oh, see, oh,
Sure.
look, they're
Right.
doing that good thing, or that bad
Right.
thing, or that,
Right.
and it just works back and forth, like.
And yes, to recap, because I'm sorry, I should have used the microphone. The young lady's asking basically about stereotyping for better or for worse. And that's exactly what you did was you just described prejudice. You just described a great definition of what prejudice is. Prejudice is, I see certain people, some of them are going to have the characteristic of the stereotype, but I'm going to ignore the other 95% because it doesn't fit into my little paradigm. Okay? And it's very much true of politics and religion. And it's, again, it can be good, it can be bad, but even, I've been struck throughout my life that even so-called good stereotypes are not healthy, because it also puts an inordinate pressure on people in a group. Let's say you're good at math or science, then there's this assumption, well, let's say that person of that ethnicity isn't doing well in school. Well, you should because. So you're putting pressure on them, and it's not fair to them either. It strips us of our individuality. Yeah, it does. It strips us of our individuality and our humanity. Because everybody is different. I mean, ironically, we talk about America and everyone's welcome, and it's the difference. But at the same time, people who don't fit into the stereotype are not always welcome, as they should be. So, Jason, I don't want to be rude, and I love your question, but are we near the witching hour? So we have to close? Okay. Okay, thank you all again. Thank you all again for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.